In our celebration this evening, we journey back 100 years ago to Jacksonville, Illinois. And there, thanks to the love of God and the love of his parents, Paul Duffner received the gift of life and began his ministry in this world. The son of Thomas Duffner and Mary Agnes Mahoney. Mary Agnes Mahoney. All these years, I never knew Father Duffner was half Irish. And Father then began his ministry in this world. And Father Duffner, is there any way, as a little boy in Jacksonville, Illinois, and playing baseball with enthusiasm as a youth, that you could have possibly imagined that 100 years after your birth, you'd be gathered in what then was far away Portland, Oregon, in this beautiful church dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Mary under the title of Father's favorite devotion to Mary, Our Lady of the Rosary. With this community, his friends of the parish of Holy Rosary in Portland, Oregon. And with his niece, Sister Margaret Ann Cox. Now, which Dominican? Okay. And also his niece, Joan Jackson from Riverside. I live just 3 hours south of you in Mexicali, Mexico. But I go through on Highway 60 every now and then, Riverside. And then there's a great nephew named Dominic. And somehow he must have been influenced by his great uncle to have that name, correct? Now, Father began his ministry as a child then and eventually entered the Dominican order. Now, Father Reginald Martin, in the Rosary Bulletin, his article on Father Duffner, began his article in the Rosary Bulletin from Holy Rosary here with these words. On December 12, 1966, the provincial, don't get any ideas, Father Mark Porres, the provincial wrote this letter to Father Duffner. Dear Father Duffner, I hereby appoint you to the following offices in the province. You are now the treasurer of the province, the provincial promoter of the Rosary Confraternity, the director of the Rosary Center. You are now the director of the Shrine of St. Jude. You are now the manager of the Dominican Confraternity building. You are now a member of the Province Planning Commission. With the assurance of my best wishes, I remain your beloved provincial. So we get just that one little glimpse of one single assignment of Father Duffner as a Dominican. And I should mention that we Dominicans are here with our provincial Father Mark Porres, with Dominicans all the way from Alaska to Mexico on this day with all of you of Holy Rosary community. Now, even though Father had many ministries, there's a whole generation of us older friars of the province for whom Father Duffner is the novice master. And all of us, each of us older generation that passed through that long time of his being the novice master, all have a remembrance of our first personal encounter with our novice master, Father Duffner. And I can see right now in my mind, 52 years later, 52 years ago, I arrived at the novitiate, coming up with 3 trucks of my companions from doing social work in central Mexico. And I came into the novitiate, and I had a beard. Now, this is 52 years ago. And the old novices greeted me, and one of them very sharply said, "You can't have a beard in the novitiate." Never has a novice come with a beard. And with a touch of self-righteous, I pointed, where's the statue of St. Dominic? I pointed, no, he doesn't have a beard. Pardon me. Now that just threw me all off. With a touch of self-righteous, I pointed to a statue of St. Dominic that did have a beard. And I said, he has a beard and I want to be like him. And the novices looked, no. Well, a few days before the taking of the habit, we were at recreation, and Father Duffner looked at me and said, Jack, that's a wonderful beard you have. And I gave a self-righteous look over to them like, see? And then I heard the gentle voice of Father Duffner saying, we'll have to take a picture of that beard before you shave it off tomorrow morning. But as all of us from that generation of the novice master, we look back, and what was it Father Duffner was trying to instill in us? And I think we would all agree, and we'd find the answer to that question, what was he seeking to instill in us? If we open up the Bible to the Psalms, Psalm 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am the Lord. It was silence. But Father Duffner was not just seeking to instill within us in that year of the novitiate, beginning our life as young Dominican friars. It wasn't just silence. It was a Dominican silence that has characterized his whole life and continues to characterize his life. Now, Father Duffner would explain to us that that silence is the silence that flows into contemplation, and from that contemplation flows out in loving service to the world. Father Duffner's way of expressing that is contemplation and sharing the fruits of that contemplation with others. How often we heard that all during the year. It was a silence, but a silence that flowed to contemplation, and from that contemplation then flowed out in loving service to others. And that's what we all learned from Father Duffner. But it's a tension between contemplation and service in the world. And all through those years of Father Duffner's life, going back to when he was named treasurer of the province, provincial promoter of the Rosary Confraternity, director of the Rosary Center, Shrine of St. Jude, manager of the Dominican Confraternity Building, member of the Provincial Council, Provincial Planning Commission, all of that involves sacrifices. I can remember the privilege of serving alongside Father Duffner in the jungles of Chiapas in very, very difficult times in our mission. And all during those sacrifices, all during his life of Father Duffner then, with this great devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of Jesus, Mother of all of us, in those difficult times of sharing his contemplation in active ministry through the province then, he must often have reflected upon those words that Mary heard from Simeon in the temple. A sword shall pierce thy heart. To live Father Duffner's life then involved many, many sacrifices. But today we give thanks for that ministry and that life that began 100 years ago in Jacksonville, Illinois, thanks to the love of God and the thanks to the love of Thomas Duffner and Mary Agnes Mahoney. And I'm sure in this great celebration, Father Duffner's humility may be a little bit embarrassed, but I'm sure that going through his soul and his heart and his mind this day is a reflection of those words of Mary that we just heard in this gospel. My soul magnifies the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God my Savior, for he has looked with favor upon his lowly servant.